Cat here, your favorite ginger bibliophile. I hope you're all doing really well, and hopefully you have some snacks or something to do while you listen, because this will be my longest TBR, or well, wrap up book or video. One of these days I'll even learn how to speak. The longest wrap up video I have ever done, most likely, because this is by far the most books I have ever read in a month. I got 9 off of my TBR shelves. Though to be fair, one was a carryover, and a couple of these were either very short, very easy, or both. So, and then of course I've got the rest in my little trusty journal because there's no way I'm remembering 21 books, but we're all prepared. And as usual, we will start with the physical books and then get into everything that I read on Kindle, either from Unlimited or the library for the most part. I don't think I read any that I actually owned. I did start one, and then my mind just went, nah, I'm not in the mood for this. So this is just in the order of they were easiest to grab off of my shelf. But we're going to start with Vampires Not Invited, which is the third book in the Night Tracker series. I just call it the Hot Headless Chick series because, I mean, it's like, look at my booty and my black leather, and I'm missing half a head. But basically, this is we have a drow princess or a night elf who has come to New York and is part of like this paranormal, police force that keeps an eye on all the other paranormals, including vampires who I guess like 150 years ago were like, yep, you're not really allowed to like be vampires anymore. There will be no drinking blood, no messing with the humans, none of that stuff. And one of them decided, nah, screw this. We're just gonna, like, stir up some trouble and wipe all of you out if you don't let us rule you. We're gonna go back to hunting, a human city at night and take over the world, which is kind of stupid because the way they're acting, you're gonna be out of food really soon. Once you kill or turn all the humans, what you gonna do, dummies? But they're vampires, they're not very smart, which is a shame to say because I love vampires. But we have all kinds of them in here, and we got lots of different uh, various creatures. And I love she always starts these off with a list of all of the various creatures that are in here, and it's a slightly different, comment of basically her thoughts of the moment and how it applies to this particular book in the series with, each line. I think vampires, this entry is not invited because, haha, smart aleck. And then she has a human best friend that she has a PI business that she runs with during the day, who always has lots of comments on her shirt, on her face, and out loud. I freaking love Olivia. So, is it my favorite series in the whole world? No, but I found all 5 of these at the used bookstore, and I have read all 5 of them now. One of the few series I have started and finished in a year. And then we had Dean Koontz, because of course, Demon Seed was kind of what the picture looks like. This chick being stalked through, security cameras. I would be careful with this one though, as there is, our main character in this was assaulted by her father as a child, and he's thankfully no longer around, but she is and dealing with it. But considering I think this was written in 81, I want to say let's see here. Oh no, 73, and then this version is the 1997 reprint. So that's pretty freaking amazing because basically the story of this is this woman has a smart house. Like, it is pretty completely run by like the tech, more so than a lot of places even now, 51 years later. Which, oh my goodness, I didn't realize he had been writing for that long. But yeah, Dean Koontz before he had his golden retriever. And so, 1973, she's got, smart plugs, got the cameras, the lighting, the doors are even run by a computer, whether or not you can open them. And she has a security system that has been taken over by the AI that her, now ex douchebag husband and some of his little buddies developed. And the AI has a crush on her. And of course, it goes wrong. Because our AI is basically, he's every self proclaimed nice guy we have ever met. Thankfully, for the most part, without a body. So, yeah. Terrifying when you realize somebody came up with this 50 years ago. And oh my gosh, this could actually happen now, considering the tech has very much caught up. But overall, not like scary, scary, but still a really good story. And then we read The Mask by a much, older, has his doggy, Dean Koontz. He's so cute. And since it's not Stephen King, the doggy is safe. There's a creepy spider on the cover, and that does play a part later. Very, sneaky little nod. And basically, what this is, it starts off with, this little girl dying in a fire and not exactly being a fan of her mother. And then we, whipped into the future, well, the current times, and we have this couple trying to, adopt. They're going through all the paperwork and having an interview with this dude, and then a lightning storm happens. Paper gets lost. They're all traumatized. She's heading to work the next day, and thankfully going very very slow because she's freaked out, and plus it's still storming, and kind of taps this little girl that just dazedly walks out into the middle of traffic, and being having some issues and just being who she is, the would be mother pretty much like unofficially adopts this child. I mean, hey, we don't know who she is. She's a Jane Doe. The mommy hasn't showed up. You feel guilty for tapping her at 10 miles an hour and her still managing to like slide over the car and not know what's up. And then, but she doesn't have any memories, so we're trying to find out who she is. And of course, things go as they go in a Dean Koontz novel. So do with that what you will. It's kind of atmospheric. Some of it you kind of see it coming. Some of it went, ooh, that was nice. But it's really cool. It's more of like a psychological kind of sort of thriller. But it's still a good time. This was actually my last read. This shouldn't have taken as long as it did, because I mean, look at it. It's tiny. It's tiny. The print is big, and there's some pictures in here. But I also had like 2 nights where I was lucky to make 10 pages with, help from all of the babies and falling asleep. But it's the Journal of Professor Abraham Van Helsing, edited with critical commentary by Professor Alan C. Cooper. I'm not sure who is actually the author of this because it doesn't list it. But this is, Van Helsing is writing this journal, and then, our Alan C. Cooper and a few other folks make notes in it, and it's basically of, hey, I was a respected professor, and then I went to this lecture from this guy that was talking about vampires, and I was the only one that didn't laugh at him, so he invited me to meet him, and even though I was kind of like, he's a little weird, oh crap, maybe he's not, and then we get into the future of, where this guy is now alive and it's like, oh, this was my great grandfather's journal. My family hates him because he abandoned us, but I found his journal and I'm gonna read through it. And we just kind of go through the adventures of Van Helsing up until he just fell off the map in the middle of running off to fight vampires. Is it particularly scary? No, there is. I do like how they kind of tie in mythology of vampires from a couple different places instead of just Well, we know Dracula was the first vampire because he made a deal with the devil to drink blood on the battlefield. Like, this ties into some more stuff. Some folks are going to call it blasphemy, but whatever. This is a quick, easy, good time, and how I was able to read so many. And then we have Stormfront, the first in Jim Butcher's Dresden Files that I read for Occult Detective October. I know this series gets better because I think the first one I found was actually like book 9 or something, where he's a little bit more established, a little bit more powerful, and knowing what he's doing. But this is basically like it's exactly what a cult detective sounds like. He is a wizard, extremely powerful, though not very like trained as he is. He's got a lot of attitude and still a lot to learn. But it's a magical murder mystery, and there's some attitude. There's murder. I like all the attitude in it. There's a little bit of some atmosphere kind of going for it. It's a fun time. Is it the like if this was the first one I'd ever read, would I go, oh my god, I need the whole series? No. Will I still pick them up willy nilly here and there? Especially knowing that they do get better and he kind of gets more of a personality and a little bit more going on later on? Yes. And then another one that was a very quick read, Mummy by Carolyn B. Cooney. This will end up unhauled. Like, I knew this was, high school students stealing a mummy, and then everything goes wrong. I thought this was going to go wrong, like, in the vein of, the mummy and, oh crap, curses are actually real. This went wrong in the sense of you got a bunch of not necessarily friends and one very much outsider high school student went into crime together, and then, of course, did what high school students that think they're popular and have an outcast kid do. Yeah. And there was Blood Groove by Alex Bledsoe. And this is, what you would guess from that name, a vampire novel. And this takes place in 1970? Yeah. Yeah, because he died and our main vampire was staked in 1915 and 60 years later. So 1975, in the Deep South, small town New Orleans, vampire comes back to life. And we have basically like vampire groups. We got one that wants to rule everything and is a snob because he's from Europe and he was a titled baron back there. So he's a snob and a racist. And then we have some others because, well, it's 1970s in the South. It was even worse then than 2024 in this small town South. So, I like some parts of it. You were not supposed to like some of these characters. They are racist, they are sexist, they are pieces of crap. But I meet that on a regular basis. I read fiction to not deal with the dregs of humanity as the main source, and the crappy, humans are kind of the stars of this. So, it didn't put me in the best mood. It was interesting. I like what they did with it, but I just really hated some of those characters and it just put me in a bad mood. So, yeah. Clive Cussler and Dirk Cussler and Treasure of Con. This was my carryover from last month. Or, well, last month by the time I get this uploaded. And supposedly there's only like 8 or 9 books where, he makes himself a character. I keep finding those ones and they make me giggle. Because Clive Cussler made a little bit of a, splash in this for a little bit. And this is one of the few where some of the others I have read, I'm like, I need to push through because the prologue is so freaking slow. This one, the prologue was really good. And then we could have cut like 300 pages out of the middle. because it just got all economic and political, and it's like, it's the Treasure of Khan, so we're gonna go all like, this has to do with Genghis Khan, right? And it does. Like, the first 100 pages and the last 100 pages are so freaking good. In the middle, well, you know, we have this storm on this lake that destroys this whole town because this lake is just miles and miles and miles and freaking huge in Siberia, and they're testing it for oil. And the whole book is basically, well, we're going to destroy like the world economy through controlling all the oil because we're going to blow up all the oil fields except for ours so that they have to bow to our whims so that we can get back the land that we had under Genghis Khan. And, it's this one dude's like, yeah, that's screwed up, but also screw these other rich guys. Except for you're already one of those and you're just as bad as they are. And it's like, you're not really even helping your people. But, yep, we're kind of like going through the past, dealing with Genghis Khan and, you know, some of the not totally crap things that he did, depending on what side you're on. But, yeah, it has potential. I love the beginning and the end. But we just get bogged down in the politics and the economics of, gas. Which, yeah, that's again, I don't read books to deal with what I'm dealing with in the real world. It's supposed to be my escape. This was not an escape. It was 612 pages, and it could have been much smaller and much more fun. There was some action, there were some good lines, and I love how it ties different places together and goes, yep, there's some messed up and greed and whatnot going on. And finding out, kind of some of Genghis's, you know, history and his lineage and what's going on with some of the people from there now. But then there's a lot of other stuff in the middle that just did not do it for me. And then I read Kingdom of the Cursed, the sequel to Kingdom of the Wicked. And I was expecting this to be much more messed up. Because Kingdom of the Wicked was really freaking good. Like, it was about these Italian witches that their grandmother was helping to hide from the devil because witches and demons have this lifelong battle. And there was a prophecy about, their twins, one of which gets murdered, and all these other witches are dying with their hearts being ripped out. She summons the devil, makes a deal with them to, yep, I know I should be hiding from you. I know you're the devil, you're evil, but I will solve my sister's murder. If I gotta deal with the devil to do it, somebody's gonna freaking pay. And it's, she ends up in hell with her devil. And it's like, you know what? If I gotta be in hell and deal with y'all, I'm gonna be the scariest bitch here. And I will play all you suckers and I'm getting some freaking revenge. And it's kind of that. But it's also just a really dark romance that takes place in hell. There's not nearly enough revenge. There's a lot of I really want to bang. And this is a YA novel. Like, I got the first one out of, from my used bookstore in, like, the children and YA area. And this is a sequel to that. And there was a lot of kinky stuff in here. Some of it more explicit than others, some of it just hinted at. But this is, like, demonic court politics and everybody spying and conniving, and it was not as demonic and, deathly satisfying as I expected it to be. But still, my library had the third book, Kingdom of the Feared, which I will get a graphic and put it up here if it will let me. And I did finish the trilogy. And if I find it super cheap, maybe I'll eventually read it again. And plus, they're beautiful. If I had the space, I would totally these are just going to be lined up, like, on the shelf. Instead of I need room, it's going to look like this, But right now I don't have the book or, all the space to be going, look at how beautiful my books are. I'm going, I got them. Which one do I want to read? But, yep. So that was how those books went. And now let's get into all of the ones that I read off ebooks. Because I also read Gravity Falls Lost Legends by Alex Hirsch. And if y'all don't know what that is, this is just like a little, um, basically it's a comic book based off some other, like, yeah, this is Gravity Falls. It's a really cool kid show. It's only got 2 seasons. I love it. They made a small comic book about it for, smaller children. Apparently there is one for, like adults. It's Bill Cipher's story. Thanks MJ for, letting me know about that. Unfortunately, they don't have it at my library or on Amazon or Kindle. Like, it was sold out on Amazon. My library doesn't know it exists. And yeah, it's not on Kindle Unlimited. That's evil. So I couldn't get it. Probably if I was younger, I would have loved it. And if it wasn't hurting my eyes, but I was reading a graphic novel on here. It very much hurt my eyes, gave me a headache. But for young children, if you like the show, you will like it. Or if you like comic books and the show, you will probably freaking love it. And I think there's 4 of them. They were all on Kindle Unlimited, but just that reading style on that, I was not going to try to do more. And then I read Suicide Lake, which is Book of Shadows, Book 2 by Michael Penning. I read the first one, All Hallows Eve, last year, and I freaking loved it. It took place on All Hallows Eve in Salem with the witch, and it was atmospheric and amazing. And now we have, our main character from that is now her sister's going, hey, my husband has gone off to go join this logging company way up here. All these people are dying. I'm calling BS on this. I need you to go find out what's up and save my husband before he ends up a suicide victim next. Like, no. And of course, there's like demonic things at play. And there are a few things I'm like, but it was good. That might have been like my favorite actually kind of creepy book of the month. Like, that was our appropriate. It is spooky season. We've got witches that are trying to hide that they're witches because still it's back in you will get burned or stoned to death times. It just there's I think 3 or 4 more in the series. They're all still on Kindle Unlimited right now. This is becoming one of my traditions of I need to read one of these books every year. Cause yeah. And it was always good. I freaking love it. I read Necromancer Called Gam Gam and Wishing Stone by Adam Holcomb. Then I'm blaming you for this. Because he did a reading from the first chapter of the Necromancer Called Gam Gam, and his reading of it was so freaking good, doing all the voices and everything. So I downloaded them, and if you're into cutesy stuff, it's good. Like, we got a feisty grandma that's adopting essentially this little child who has been traumatized and mistreated and lost her family. And there's magic, and there's a tiny bit of darkness, but mostly it's a feel-good cutesy story. Even with the like how dark the end is, it's still mostly a cutesy little, duology. So this would be like perfect for Farrah or other people that have, small children or like the feel-good stuff instead of the scary stuff. And then I read Half Cocked and Shell Shocked, that are the 3rd book in this series came out the day after my Kindle Unlimited trial ended, and I'm trying to be good. So, nope. I need to start reading what I own, and, I've been kind of staggering all my Libby finds, but it was so freaking good. It's the San Diego Police Department Paranormal series, and what this is we have a underworld assassin who is actually the good guy. He only kills really bad guys. And if you make it, all the way to killing 1,000 people, 1,000 folks that you have contracts on, because, you're killing, like, the, underground mafia, you're gonna have to take out a few of their, security guards along the way. So that number is probably a tenth of what it should be. But their guild has this rule, once you complete 1,000 contracts, if you live that long, you can make a request and we have to grant it. And he really wants to go to Earth and see the beach. And the only way they were going to make that work is he has to agree to become the new captain of the San Diego Police Department for the paranormal division. So he has to go through this training to wipe out the fact that, oh my gosh, I'm an assassin. So he might be extremely freaking deadly. Not exactly what you think of as comforting police. And all the stuff just goes wrong. And the police department itself is just. There is a were-rooster who is very touchy. Rooster, not chicken. Rooster. And a centaur, except for, one, I think it was a dad that was human and the mom was only half. So he just looks like a human that occasionally has a tail. Unicorns are not as sweet as you think, especially when they get their, time of the month. AKA, full moon. So, apparently she was like the last unicorn. And do not piss her off. She is super sweet and happy. But you gonna die, you take her off when the moon's full. And we have, suddenly there's an attack of zombies trying to take over and creating all this crap. And he's in the middle of it, and then just. This is very much. They are very crude, they are very foul. Their banters, we got, Pony Boy and, chicken tenders and all kinds of, very lowbrow, very fun. Like, I love their insults and whatnot going on with this. It made me laugh. If the other one hadn't come out later, I would have read that one too. But I'm trying to be good and not pay for, ebooks when I already have like 1,000 that I haven't read. And then I did I have this little book versus movie series, and it's Halloween time. So I had to read a Halloween book so I could compare. And I read Resident Evil Umbrella Conspiracy by S.D. Perry. And what's weird is, at least getting them from Libby, from my library, goes, they're not books, or they're volumes. And then I found out that, I don't know if y'all know, some of y'all might, Resident Evil is also a game. And the movies are based off the game. Kind of. Because there are a lot of characters in the book, that are not in the movie. Because a lot of our main character in the movie exists strictly for the movie. She is not in the game, and the books are based off of the game. Apparently the boyfriend knew that. He hasn't read these, but he knows about them. Which is weird, because I have never seen him play a Resident Evil. He's more of a Call of Duty guy, but, It was still, it was similar enough, but it is what it is. That video is already up if y'all want that full review. Kind of like I have for, some of these other ones. Or I've just been doing like a running tally on my TBR shorts pile. And I also read Conceal, Don't Feel, which is the Twisted Tales version by Jen Calonita of Frozen. And these are, depending on, who writes it, some of them are very much like the movie, except for with the twist that they tell you what it is on the cover. Some of them are way out in left field. I love when Mulan had to go to the underworld. There were bits of it I have that movie memorized. I recognize this. And a lot of it was like, what? This is all new. It's dark. I freaking love it. This was very, very much the movie. Except for Anna and Elsa weren't living in the castle together, because the whole twist was Anna and Elsa have never met. They are still sisters. They're both royalty. The parents still die. But the sisters don't know that they have a sister. So, if you like Frozen, you will love this book. If you hate Frozen, you will hate this book. If you don't care one way or the other and would have liked it if people didn't hype it so much and then go, oh, you like Brave, this is better. So that, you kind of want to. When people mention it, like me, it's an okay book. And then I read Empire Lost, which is a little short story in the Arcane Archaeology thriller series by Matt James, which is the first time I've ever read anything by him. But it was Kindle. It was 40 pages. Y'all know I love me some archaeological thrillers. I love this, but it was 40 pages. I wanted more of that story. It was freaking good. And now I want to find more of him, but my library doesn't know he exists. He's like an indie author. I think he has a couple series with Nick Thacker, who I found he's on Kindle Unlimited. But if you want a paperback, it's $15. I have not found it at my thrift store or any of my used bookstores or online. And I'm not paying $7 for an ebook that's gonna get lost in the pile or $15 for a paperback. So thankfully some of these are on Kindle Unlimited. And if I get another, here you go, we'll give you a free trial. I am going to devour these if they're as good as this one is. If you have Kindle Unlimited and you like James Rollins and archaeological thrillers, I recommend trying some more of his. Because this one, like, we're in the Amazon, we found this lost tribe. They did not want to be found. And then I read 50 Shames of Earl Grey, which is another one that I've already done a full review of. But oh my freaking, it was good. Do not read this at work, and do not have corn dogs when you're eating or when you're reading this, because there is a scene, and it came up at my lunchtime when I had corn dogs, and that was very uncomfortable, but I was hungry and I was not going to stop reading this book. And it is exactly what it feels like, or well, sounds like. It is a very much a parody of 50 Shades. And it is so freaking over the top, ridiculous, and wrong that you gotta roll your eyes and giggle. Like, this defies the laws of physics so freaking much. It is just ridiculous. And I giggled so much. It's by Fanny Merkin. Because he even made a fake name for writing this book that he parodied from his name on down. But the actual author is Andrew Schaefer. And I have been, told by Matthew, the man with the hat who reads, that this is not new for him. He also has like political murder mystery type thrillers that are supposedly really, really fun. So now I have to see if my library has those. Thanks, Matthew. And if y'all haven't already, I'm going to list all these booktubers down below so y'all can go check them out. But, oh, there's a sequel to that book. And apparently, like, it's 50 Shames in space or something of that. It's in space. And it's a sequel to, this. And at some point, I need to see if my library has it. Because, oh my goodness. And the last book, I'm probably going to get some hate for. Because I got some unpopular opinions, but that's okay. That implies that some folks found this video and made it all the way this far. So maybe nobody will notice. But I read God Killer by Hannah Kanner. I was like, honestly, I almost DNF'd this. Because normally, like, I give it 10% and then kick it. And I didn't hate it, but I wasn't really feeling it either. I'm like, I put this thing on hold 6 months ago. It finally came in. I'm gonna keep trying it. And I mean, like, I pushed through it about 25%. It got to where, it started flowing and being interesting. But I'm not a huge fantasy girl, for one, so that's partially on me. But the premise just sounded really interesting. But also, I am not a fan of multiple, POVs. And we had 4. And the chapters were so short, then, like, by the time they start seeming like kinda I get what's going on, it's getting interesting. We're switching to another one that's way over here, and no, we got 4 point of views in 6 chapters in like 40 pages. This is, I'm not connecting anyone, but I pushed on through, and they eventually all kind of collided into, hey, we're all in one group, we're all going to the same place, so you're seeing the same adventure, just getting other people's like thoughts on it and some of the stuff they're hiding from others, because everybody's got a secret in this. So it does get better, and if you like fantasy and you're good with multiple points of view, then it probably is really good. For me, it was a solid 3 stars, and I would have been pissed if I bought the hardback. It's beautiful, but I'd have been pissed. Because that just, it didn't work very much for me. So, Apparently, it works really well for a lot of people because I've seen a lot of folks just raving over it, but was not my style, and especially the beginning, I just could not get into that. And there is a sequel that has potential, maybe. The way that it ended, it's good that there's a sequel. I did kind of like that ending, but I am in no rush to see if my library has it. So that is my longest ever wrap up, full of lots of tongue twists. Are there any of these that you have read that you're now going to rush out and get, that you're going to go avoid? Drop a line, let me know, and I will see you soon. Bye. Happy reading.